Hey, I'm Jim Hutchison with JimOnLight.com. I'm here at the NAB show at the Sea Changer booth with an excellent friend of mine and fantastic lighting designer, T.J. Gerckens. T.J., I'm so glad to have you here.
Thanks for having me.
One of the things I think that a lot of designers, especially lighting designers, don't realize is that we're here to service the project, to service the product, and that each of the other designers has a way that they want the work to look.
Sure.
A set designer has a vision of what they want their set to look like under light. Same thing with a costume designer. And I really feel like as the lighting designer, I have the responsibility to at least address that. And I think that's one of the reasons why we work so well together, is that we all understand that. And when Dan's designing a set, he's thinking, what's TJ going to need? When Mara designs the costumes, she's thinking about the way they'll take under light. Wow. She always ships me the swatch book, so I have all the swatches of the costumes. So as I'm laying out my colors, I'm thinking, what's going to do the best for Mara's costumes? And the whole combination then, you know, joins with Mary's work to make a fiesta.
So you're like lucky inside of this true collaborative, creative team.
Yes.
But how do you feel? Do you feel fortunate as a lighting designer?
I feel incredibly blessed, and that's the word I'd use. I'm not to get all theological on you, but it's it really is. I mean, when I think about the last, I've been working with Mary almost 17 years.
Wow.
And I think about the ability to create this level of collaborative art, and the work itself, the plays are always so beautiful, so wonderful, so human. So, to be able to work on that kind of work with these kinds of people. And what's funny is when we do get snippy with each other, which doesn't happen very often, we're just like, oh, is this how other people work? You know what I mean? And it's funny, every once in a while one of us will get frustrated with the other, and then we'll like step back from it, or we'll go do another show with a different team.
Sure.
We'll say, oh yeah, this might be how the other half lives. Or the other 90% lives.
So you've been working with Mary for 17 years. Has there been a progression in your own, I guess you'd say, artistic lighting designer career that you've noticed over the course of those times that either helps you work better with Mary or helps you understand the way that she thinks?
Well, yeah, I think that a big thing about it, and again, I don't want to pick on youth versus seasoned, let's call it, but
it's a big difference. It is important.
There's a subjugation of the ego. I think that happens. And as I've worked with her, we have all developed a common vocabulary.
Nice.
So that we don't need to spend as much time talking as normal, because we all have a similar vocabulary in mind. And over the years, I have learned how to look at a play that she's writing or look at a scene and have a very good idea of the way she's going to work it. And I know that as a lighting designer, I need to subjugate my own ego to whatever it is. And every time I think that, she pulls out some surprise that throws me and is brilliant. And it pushes me to a different level. The number of times she or Dan or Mara has said why don't we? Or have you thought about? I'm like, wow, no, I haven't. But that's a new idea. Let's run with that. And sometimes they work and sometimes they don't. But over 17 years, you think you might get stale.
Sure.
And it's not a staleness. It's a constant pushing of the envelope. When I work with other teams that aren't quite as comfortable with each other, you get a little bit of the, oh, I'm the costume designer, I'm not going to talk to the lighting designer. Or I'm the set designer, but I really hate what he's doing to my set. Whereas with our group, we're constantly pushing each other, which I really think has helped us not become stale and has made us better each time we're out. And then when I go work with other designers and other teams, I'm a better designer and I'm thinking outside of the box more and willing to play better.
Can you give me an example of some, I guess I would even say, miraculous thing that's happened that has come out of that collaborative team on a show?
Well, one of the things that, as a lighting designer trained in college academia, I went to Otterbein College, plug for Otterbein, an undergraduate, and Boston University for grad school, is you think in your head of the way you're going to construct a scene. You think you're going to have these elements. You're going to have a key light. You're going to have a fill light. You're probably going to shape the space with some kind of color washes. And often Mary will say, no, why don't we get rid of everything but the one light you really want?
Wow.
And then we'll start cheating in what we need to cheat in.
Sure.
And it sounds so obvious. But as a designer who you put together your plot with your front light and your side light and your back light and your diagonal backs and your up lights, you tend to think in terms of combinations. And often Mary or Dan will say, why don't we just take that light and turn it on and let's start from scratch. And it's a beautiful thing because you just part all the muck, all the stuff that's unnecessary, and then you fill back in what you need to. Now the converse of that is I've been on a number of shows, not just with Mary, but with other directors, where we'll fall in love with that idea and we'll pull all the fill out and create these incredibly bold looks. And on first preview, sit at the back of the 900-seat or 1,000-seat theater and say, I can't see a freaking thing. And then we spend the next day or two going back and putting a little bit in. Or in the case of an opera I worked on, the tenor's wife sat out in the house on first preview and said, I can't see the tenor. In which case you go and you put the little bit back in. But trying to find where that is and this is something I don't have down yet, trying to figure out how when in the course of a 10 out of 12 tech for 3 days to not fall in love with what you're doing.
Sure. And
be open to new ideas and also to look at it and think, what's it going to look like on first preview?
Where do you go in your head when you feel like you are stuck? Do you know what I mean? Where do you go when you feel like you need a new idea and you don't want to strip everything away? Where do you go?
I honestly usually go to black. I mean, the number of times, if I'm fighting a scene, it's like, okay, turn everything off. And honestly, I often go back to the other team members. You know, it will be, hey, I'm stymied with this. Or what often happens is in text, you have X number of hours until your first audience.
Sure.
So we'll rough something in. And on day 2 of preview, it hits. You know what I mean? So there are times that we've gone on with a scene or two that's like, this isn't what it's going to look like, but we don't have the new ideas. But one of the things that's great about our team is that there are multiple heads thinking. And I haven't mentioned sound, but we often work with Andre Plus and Ben Sussman on sound, or Michael Bodine and Rob Milburn. But you know, one of the great things about being in this kind of environment is that when you have those blocks, there's somebody else there, and you have that supportive environment that you can say, yes, that's a good idea, instead of saying, I'm threatened by you, you're interfering with my discipline, you know?
I mean, it blows me away that you are so comfortable as the lighting designer to be able to say, hey, everybody, you know, can I have a hand? Where did you get to that place? I mean, has it just been subjugating your ego over so many years?
It's a lot of it is subjugating the ego, and also a lot of it is that when Mary and I started working together, not working out. Obviously, I don't do that a lot. But, you know, Mary would often come to us with a source material and say, what do you want in this play?
Wow.
You know, we did a new adaptation of I've gotten differing opinions on the number of pages, but like a 3,000-page Chinese mythology, the monkey story. And Mary said, here's the source material. I don't expect you to read all of it. But if there are stories in here that particularly speak to you, I want to know about it.
Wow.
And that kind of, hey, TJ, what do you think about the script? What do you think about the blocking? Makes me a whole lot more interested in what do you think about the lighting, you know? And I just worked with Jessica Thebus on a show in Boston. And Jessica was the same way. She's just like, you know, listen, okay, we just got through first preview. What do you think works and what doesn't? Be honest. I'm like, well, okay, well the street scene in Act 1 wasn't quite working. And it's like, wow, she wants to know. She's like, okay, what doesn't work? And you start getting that rapport, and it just makes you so much more open to somebody else's opinion. Wow. And also as a person, I don't think I have all the answers. I never have. So.
Are you all listening to this? This is important information. Well, let's take a break.
All right, thank you.
I'm Jim Hutchison. I'm here with T.J. Gerckens, a fantastic lighting designer friend of mine, and we'll be right back after this.